Hello everyone. So I've been asked a number of times to review the Orqa goggles. I've been using them for some time now, and they have made my life a lot easier because in micros we're oftentimes using DVR footage in order to show them to you. And the Orqa goggles have the best analog goggle DVR probably in the industry. Maybe the Scouts, the Fat Shark Scouts, I hear has got a very good DVR, but I don't have any experience with that. And so in that regard, it has made my life in making videos a lot easier. I don't have to pre-process. I don't have to throw a lot of extra footage out. With other DVRs, the frame rate would be inconsistent, or it would drop frames, or maybe it didn't record, or the frame recording got chopped up or something. I do have one gripe about the DVR, and that is that it chops it off in 5-minute segments, but I haven't had a problem in splicing those together. You've seen a number of videos on the channel, and no one said anything about it. Looks like it jumped a couple frames there or anything like that. I think previously, before we had all the trees cut down, a few people noticed that there might have been some frames missing when I go around the back side of the swings on kind of the fort side of the swing set, that maybe there's a reception issue there, but I wouldn't say that was specific to this DVR either. My experience overall with the goggles has been very good, but I want to keep the goggle talk, as far as the Orqa specific talk, relatively short. Most of the functions that you would use are going to be there, and for FPV purposes are going to work quite well. And the reason why I decided to buy, and I probably should have gotten in on the Kickstarter, was I wanted to use, and I used money from the channel, which I always do, to help support innovation. I think competition is good. Getting more thinkers into the market is also a good thing for everyone. So I decided to spend the money and get the Orqa goggles. Now you'll notice that I've got a rapid fire module in here, as well as a couple of, one's an Axie, one's a True RC. I think it's True RC. Yeah, True RC, long antenna to get that above my Malone. And that has helped with my reception. I did also get the Connect module, so I had that early entry sort of package deal, and I've got the Connect module installed. It was pretty simple. It requires a firmware update, which you do via your SD card, and now you can use your phone in order to connect to the goggle in order to update the software. You can also use that Connect module to do live streaming via your phone. I haven't done that yet, so I don't know how well that works. I'm not sure if I'll use that. I think initially I kind of thought I would use that. That it would be something neat that's for a first flight. I could do a first flight review. I think I need to modify my rapid fire to do the microphone enhancement. I haven't tested these things really at all, but that was some of the innovation that I wanted to support. And they seem to be including kind of some future technology or some extra processing power, some extra tech in here, where creative thinking and programming could allow the goggles to do other things. But of course, these goggles are very expensive. They have an exclusive, I believe, with Get FPV, $649 without a module. So if you buy a rapid fire module, you've got another 150 bucks. You got antennas, say maybe 40 bucks. We're talking big dollars for those goggles. And I've been a bit underwhelmed by the fan. I've got the fan set to the maximum speed. You set that in the OSD or in the GUI within the goggles, and then you turn the fan on and it runs at that speed. It's a little bit noisy. The noise doesn't bother me very much. You can hear it, but when I'm flying, it doesn't bother me. But what I find in the humid months during this period of the year for us is that it doesn't do a very good job of getting that humidity off the lenses. I find that I have to end flights, my first few flights, relatively soon. I have to wipe the goggles down, put them back on my face, kind of wear them for a few minutes, see what happens, and around I go. Versus other goggles, I think, do a better job of getting the air blown fan on the lenses. Now, I don't know if it's the fan and the blade efficiency, or if it's the delivery from the fan to the lenses that is causing that issue, but that is something that I've noticed hasn't operated as well as I would have liked, and as compared to other goggles. The battery that it comes with is kind of cool. Got that little kind of power meter, Knight Rider sort of thing there. But as far as having this little, I don't know if you can see this, it's got a, if I can show it this way, it's got this little latch, and this is real nice and soft. I appreciate that, but I haven't been using this battery hardly at all, just because I found it was uncomfortable if I put it in the slot alongside of my head, that I could feel this plastic latch going over the edge of the headband, and I didn't like that. Now, I've read some complaints about the head straps and them falling apart. I haven't had any problems with that. I would say the one problem I have is for the IPD adjustment on this left-hand side. It's very stiff, as almost the gears aren't quite lined up, and it makes this It makes that noise that makes you think, I could be breaking something. So I haven't fussed with that much because I'm sure I could send these back to them for support and then they would take care of the issue. I've seen them being very active. Matter of fact, they started their own group recently to make sure they could stay on top of the support issues. But this has become such an important piece to me doing what I bring to the channel that I just haven't wanted to pursue returning those for that little thing. I would certainly expect other people would have a different approach because maybe the DVR isn't just such an intricate part of what you do on a daily basis for your flying. So that's kind of the Orqa goggles. I splurged. I wanted to support innovation. I think the fan needs some help, some work, maybe redesign. I don't know. There's some future technology and there's exciting. Oh, and the GUI. The GUI recently got an update and it is, I don't want to be too extreme, but it is really good. It looks like something that was designed today. You know, most of the time when we're operating our goggles, it looks like something that's, you know, Windows 95. You know, it's got these kind of boring and generic menus, and you just go through them and click, and you do what you need to do and you get out. This one actually looks nice. It looks like the brand, and it's red and black, and I'll try to put some pictures up on this, but it's really hard to show, of course, these things inside the goggles, but it looks really good. It looks very modern. And they also included the adjustable field of view, which that's something I should talk about as well, is I can barely see the corners if I get my face in there, and I don't like to wear the strap really tight. I'm fussy. I like to be comfortable when I'm in the goggles, but I could barely not see the corners of the screens, and the screens are big. I don't know how they compare to the HDO2s, but as far as the Sky Zone goggles, the 030, excuse me, goggles, they are substantially bigger, and I thought that these were a little bit bigger than the HDO2s, but I might have that wrong. But now they've included race mode in the new firmware update, so instead of a 40-degree field of view, you can shrink that down to, I think it's 33. And so that should sort out that issue. I was kind of hoping for more incremental decrease in the FOV of the screens. I was kind of hoping we could go maybe 2 degrees less at a time, but we don't have that yet. Maybe that's coming. Of course, some people kind of thought the firmware update wasn't brought on in a very timely manner. I guess maybe I'm just more laid back, but I thought with everything going on in the world, it wasn't surprising that since March, a lot of things have been slowed down, not just in FPV, but just in products themselves. You know, you've got a lot of people working from home, shipping's down, moving stuff around is down, getting components is down. There's a lot of impact of this pandemic. So I was kind of giving them a pass on that stuff and just being patient. I have read about some people having some update issues. I don't know if that's user issues or not. I just kind of followed their video and their instructions and it worked fine for me. So that's the Orqa goggles. I enjoy those. And I think the big point about the Orqa goggles is the cost, which we previously mentioned. They're expensive. But if you're looking at maybe your second pair of goggles, maybe you're coming from box goggles or you bought some secondhand goggles or a buddy gave you some goggles and you're looking to invest in different goggles, you might be looking at the Orqa goggles or the HDO2s and trying to make a decision about what's right for you. And there's one other component to that, and that is the DJI goggles. Now, many people have just gotten either one of those pieces that you can put an analog receiver on the side, or I think it's called the BDI, where you replace the eyes on this and then it kind of goes right in the front. A little bit cleaner look. It's more expensive to buy that mount. I haven't done that yet, mainly because I don't want to buy a second rapid fire module. But a lot of people are going to these goggles exclusively, and these goggles have a really good DVR in them as well, and they're cheaper. And I would say that it's possible. I've only looked at these goggles through digital FPV, but it's possible the screens might be better. Now, there is a downside to these goggles as well. You can see I've got an aftermarket foam faceplate in here, and I don't know if you call that a faceplate. Aftermarket foam. It's got the little nose pieces in here, and I find this much more comfortable. I find that this fan is too powerful. It actually dries my eyes out. Up to that moment where I hit the arm switch and I'm concentrating on flying, I actually notice that. I notice that my eyes, I need to blink a little bit more, and that can affect you as well. Something else about these goggles is I really don't like the fact, excuse me while I set those down, that we have this external cable. It's just not very tidy, not very clean. I don't like having this cable and the battery associated with powering the goggles sitting in my pocket or in my lap. I just don't like that. I'm hopeful that maybe some of you out there know of a strap that I can get for this that's got a pocket. I saw one online on a video I saw of someone flying. They had a pocket back here for a battery and a real short lead that just kind of ran around to where it plugs in. I think that would help me feel a little bit better about using these on a regular basis. These are a little bit clunky. They're bigger. And I find that I don't want to carry these out nearly as much as I just grab these and put them on my head and I walk out and I'm fine. I don't really think too much of them. Maybe that's because I've been flying this style of goggle for a while. And I'm just not getting used to this style and this size of goggle. You know, I came from box goggles that were even bigger than this, but yeah, I just don't find myself wanting to put these goggles on. I think that's another component for me not getting one of those adapters to where I can mount an analog receiver on this. Maybe. But I think the cost component between these two goggles is something you very much need to look at, especially if you're someone in the market who's looking to get into your second goggle, maybe even your third goggle. I don't know where you're at, but if you're looking at the next pair of goggles and you might be considering the Orcas or the DJI goggles, if I had to give someone a recommendation, you know, you had me tied to a post and you had to say, which one do I buy? I think I'd have to tell you to go with the DJI goggles and get an analog receiver to go with it. The price point is going to save you a few dollars. And if you aren't into digital FPV and you get into digital FPV, you've already got the goggles. Kind of a tough sell. But the one thing you don't get is the possible future innovation. Maybe I shouldn't say that because DJI has been updating the software on a regular basis for their system. Maybe they're going to bring some feature set that just blows our mind as well. So who knows? So those are my thoughts of the goggles. I hopefully it kind of covers it for you. I didn't want to get into really detailed. Both of these goggles, when they came out, I don't know, they came out a long time ago, were covered by everybody who got one, you know, pre-production, and I didn't really feel a need to go over that, but I've been getting questions over the last 3 to 6 months about the Orqa goggles and what I thought of them, so I wanted to give you a little bit of that. And as I was thinking about this process of the next goggle, I thought it was important to disclose or talk about the DJI setup and how you may want to look at that as well. It is, I think, a cost-saving and very viable future in FPV. I'll put links to Get FPV or wherever you can buy the DJI goggles. That's the nice thing about the DJI goggles. They're available everywhere. And also that, I think it's called the BDI faceplate, that kind of nicely integrated analog receiver faceplate. I'll put those down in the video description down below because I do think I'm going to buy one of those eventually. I really don't want to spend another $150 on an RF module, so maybe I shouldn't have given away all those RF modules that I hadn't been previously using. If you do have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the section down below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.